I am here for Teghan. I am here for my baby, for justice for her, because that man murdered my baby.
Johnston County Sheriff calls it one of the worst cases of torture involving a child he's ever seen.
We have spoke with the doctors and the medical staff, and they are just as concerned, and they cannot believe it either. The report that we've got, one of the worst cases that they have ever been involved with.
It immediately brought tears to my eyes. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen done to a human being, especially a child. I've never seen anything like that in the years that I've been doing this as a law enforcement officer.
That little girl's body, not one. And those bite marks were good bite marks. We had 6 upper and 6 lower teeth in many cases. In some cases, we had 8 upper and 8 lower teeth.
This is the story of Teghan Skiba, a bright-eyed little girl who loved princesses, butterflies, and the color purple. A child whose life was cut brutally short by unimaginable cruelty. What you're about to hear will shock you to your core. But Teghan's story must be told, because only by facing these horrors can we prevent them from happening again. Before we begin, I need to ask you, if you're watching right now, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stories like Teghan's are why this channel exists, to give voice to victims who can no longer speak for themselves. Your support helps us keep telling these important stories. Born on July 6, 2006 in Raleigh, North Carolina, Teghan Alyssa Skiba was the light of her family's life. To her grandparents Gerald and Sarah, she was everything, a bubbly, affectionate little girl who waked them up each morning by declaring it a sunny day no matter the weather. She loved making bead necklaces for everyone, and every night before bed, she'd carefully tuck in all her stuffed animals with little blankets. That's just the kind of caring soul she was. But dark clouds were gathering over Teghan's short life. Her mother Helen's relationship with Jerry Skiba, Teghan's father, had collapsed due to his drug problems and violent temper. What happened next would prove even more disastrous. In early 2010, Helen met 21-year-old Jonathan Richardson at a local bar. On paper, the red flags were obvious: multiple arrests for assault, property damage, drunk driving. But Helen saw something different, and within months, she and Teghan had moved into Jonathan's home, a converted shed with no running water or toilet, just 150 feet behind his grandparents' house. Neighbors would later recall seeing Teghan playing outside occasionally in those early days. But behind closed doors, the nightmare was beginning. Helen claimed Jonathan was stern but loving with Teghan. The reality? He was systematically breaking this child down, piece by piece. Parents watching right now, I need you to hear this next part carefully, because the warning signs were all there. If anyone had been looking closely enough, when Helen left for 10 days of military training on Teghan's 4th birthday, she made a decision that would seal her daughter's fate. Despite knowing Jonathan's violent tendencies, despite seeing the bruises and marks he'd already left on Teghan's tiny body, she handed her child over to him. Jonathan's first act? A trip to Lowe's to buy padlocks and latches. He was preparing his torture chamber. What followed were 10 days of calculated, escalating brutality that would shock even veteran homicide detectives.
We have spoke with the doctors and the medical staff, and they are just as concerned, and they cannot believe it either. The report that we've got, one of the worst cases that they have ever been involved with.
It immediately brought tears to my eyes. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen done to a human being, especially a child. I've never seen anything like that in the years that I've been doing this as a law enforcement officer.
When they unwrapped the sheet, it became very clear that this person had been suffering for a long period of time, and I was not prepared for that.
Day 1 began with toilet training. When Teghan had an accident, Jonathan tied her hands to a ceiling beam and whipped her bare skin with an electrical cord until blood ran down her back. That night, he sent Helen a photo of Teghan clutching a bloodied shirt with a message: "Everything's okay." Helen's response: "Is she okay?" Nothing more. By day 3, the shed reached 108 degrees. Parched and desperate, Teghan begged for water. Jonathan's solution? He made her lap water from a bowl like a dog, then bit her ear hard enough to tear flesh when she tried to drink. This was just the first of 66 human bite marks that would eventually cover her body. If you're just joining us, please take a moment to subscribe. Stories like Teghan's are why we do this work, to expose the darkest corners of human behavior so we can bring them into the light. Day 6 marked a horrifying escalation. Jonathan stripped an extension cord bare, wrapped it around Teghan's neck, and plugged it in, electrocuting her for his amusement. Medical examiners would later confirm something even more disturbing: evidence of repeated sexual assault with foreign objects. The fluids found on Teghan's underwear suggested multiple DNA profiles. Had Jonathan invited others to participate in his atrocities? We may never know for certain. On July 16th, after Teghan soiled the mattress yet again, Jonathan snapped. He whipped her head with such force that her skull fractured, sending brain matter oozing from her ears. Then, he waited. 3 full hours passed before he finally loaded her limp body into his truck at Johnston Medical Center. Nurses immediately knew something was terribly wrong. When they unwrapped the blanket, what they saw would haunt them forever. According to Nurse Mary Butler's testimony, she says, "There wasn't a single inch of her body that hadn't been brutalized. I saw bite marks, burns, open wounds. I just lost it. I chased that monster down the hallway and nearly strangled him with my bare hands."
I went down and I said, "Oh my God." So I took off after him and I chased him down.
You chased it down?
I was running for everything I was worth. I didn't want to do what needs to be done right here, right now.
At trial, the evidence was overwhelming. 144 separate injuries documented, 66 bite marks, 37 broken ribs. Yet Jonathan showed no remorse.
I took the time to carefully count every single injury that was cited on Teghan's autopsy report, and she had more than 144 injuries. That is an extraordinarily high number of injuries, and these are not the kind of injuries that will typically occur with a one-time loss of control.
I didn't have one bite mark to look at. I looked at many, many bite marks covering that little girl's body, not one.
And smirking as graphic photos were shown, even joking with guards during breaks. Asterisk, the jury took just 90 minutes to sentence him to death.
Sexually abusing her. I haven't. I want you to know I love her so much. She calls me daddy. I didn't do it. I never did do it.
Helen Ray has received a mere 18 months for child neglect, a slap on the wrist for her role in this tragedy.
I get a phone call that something was severely wrong with the baby. I live with this every day of my life. I miss her every single day.
It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen done to a human being, especially a child. Never seen anything like that in the years that I've been doing this as a law enforcement officer.
Today, Teghan's grandparents visit her grave every week, leaving purple flowers, her favorite color. They live with unbearable guilt, knowing they heard screams but didn't act quickly enough.
Love only a mother can understand. Those are the words from the mother of a young man sentenced to death last night. After a long and emotional trial, Jonathan Richardson is now on death row for the torture and murder of a 4-year-old girl. WRL's Brian Mims shows us 2 families struggling to heal.
Whenever a death sentence is imposed, it's never a triumphant feeling in the courtroom. The word death drops like a dead weight.
We, the jury, unanimously recommend that the defendant, Jonathan Douglas Richardson, be sentenced to death.
And to the family of Teghan Skiba, she says this: "Words cannot express how sorry I feel." In Smithfield, Brian Mims, WRAL News.
This is why I'm begging you. If you suspect a child is in danger, say something. Call authorities. Intervene. Because the next Teghan is out there right now, counting on adults to protect them. If Teghan's story has moved you, please honor her memory by subscribing and sharing this video. Together, we can make sure voices like hers are never silenced again. For Teghan, and for all the children who deserve to feel safe, loved, and protected,